Hi everyone. I'm finally drinking probably the most whale-like rare beer I have right now. It is Farmstead's Biere de Norma. So this is a Biere de Garde, the kind of malty, clean French Saison-like style that's been barrel-aged for a very long time. So this was brewed originally over 2 years ago. It says vintage 2016 right on there. And then it was barrel aged for a long time, over a year. And I bought this in, was it March when I went? I think it was March. And I had the base beer, which they just called Biere de Garde, and it was really, really good. I had it on tap there. So I bought a couple of the bottles. It doesn't say the exact barrels, but it's probably, a blend of different wine barrels they use. It's 7% alcohol, and I have pretty high expectations. I haven't really checked out too many other ratings of this, and I took off most of the wax beforehand, so hopefully it opens easily. There we go. It's been in my fridge for a couple days. Ooh, that first whiff was really nice. Let's see how it looks. Yes, quite amber. Oh, and of course I have a dirty glass. I thought it was clean. Well, ruining a $30 beer in a dirty glass. It'll be okay though. It's not gonna look as perfect, but yeah, good amount of carbonation. Not a huge head. It's gonna be pretty tart, I think. It's smelling tart. The base beer, of course, wasn't really tart at all. And lots of small bubbles coming up. Very deep, kind of berry-like nose, almost like a really fruity red wine. I can tell it's gonna be a little bit sour. It's not making my mouth water like crazy though, just from the nose. It's not very funky. I'm not getting any barnyard, classic Brettanomyces, funky horse blanket stuff at all. It mostly smells tart, winey, vinous. Lots of berry notes. When it was fresher, it had a tinge of a caramel malt. I mean, the unbarrel aged version had a tinge of caramel malt. I feel like that's probably, it's dried out and kind of turned more tart and into more fruit character rather than caramel. Well, the question is, how sour is it going to be? It's really sour. It might not be quite at my alley, especially because it's so low on the funk. I kind of wish it was funkier. Maybe it'll come out more as it warms and on the tongue. Yeah, a lot of more oak comes there. Some nutty, a lot of nutty vanilla cola type flavors too, but really juicy. A lot like a sparkling rosé or a fruitier red wine, Pinot Noir, kind of like that. Not as dark, not quite as intense. Lots of berry flavors. Raspberry, it's plummy. That's pretty good. Pretty complex. A lot of interesting oak flavors coming through and wine flavors. Quite dry, not very sour, not puckering, but there is definitely a vinegary acidity that you can feel in your throat. He kind of heats it up a little bit. Yeah, it's a kind of a milder beer. And I'm still not getting any funk. Pretty darn clean. It's just a little bit of a musky oak type thing, but it's more just like a foresty oak. Yeah, deep in there, maybe there's a little a little bit of a mushroomy quality, but it isn't that sort of Brettanomyces that's really, really weird and in your face and smelling, you know, like a barnyard and manure or anything like weird fermentation. It doesn't have that. So if you're off put by the really funky beers, but you like complex barrel-aged sours, this is definitely one to look for. I mean, of course, you kind of have to be at the brewery to get it. Well, I'll have to say I'm a teeny bit disappointed. It's not a little more funky. I have a few other bottles that I'm probably gonna age more, but it has a really nice fruity sweetness right now that it's probably gonna lose a little bit as I age it. But replacing that with a little bit more funk might be nice. Because right now it's like, I feel like it's not as complex as maybe it could be. It's really complex. It has so many different fruity flavors and oakiness things going on, I guess, but it just doesn't have the funk that I kind of expect from these really fancy $30 bottles from Hill Farmstead. Yeah, especially when there isn't fruit added to it, but this does an amazing job of carrying so many fruity flavors. I guess they had a really rare small batch of this. It was brewery only with elderberries or something like that. That was probably would be really cool to try, but if you just gave this to me, I might almost think that it was brewed with red wine grapes, or maybe even blackberries. It has like these blackberry sort of things. It's not quite like raspberry. It's more of a deeper, woodsier, darker berry sort of thing. It's pretty warm here today, and actually it works pretty well in warm weather. It is slightly refreshing, and all the fruity characters and the light tartness going on how it's like not too sweet. There isn't much body to it. For 7% alcohol, but it's not really thin or like watery or anything like that. I'm enjoying it though. I probably won't buy it again. I think the other times I've been to Hill Farmstead, I'm kicking myself I didn't buy more of the expensive bottles when I was there, because they had like Sue, which is their like barrel-aged dry hop one based on their Susan IPA, and also barrel-aged Dorothy. I think the first ever batch or the second batch ever was there in 2016 when I was there, and I passed on it because I was dumb. I was like, oh, $30 a bottle, that's too much. Now I'm like, oh, this one is really good. I guess it's not like it isn't worth the $30. It's fantastic. It isn't quite as funky as a lambic. I was hoping it'd be something like that. It's definitely still a Biere de garde, and I guess they call it, yeah, a Biere de Mars. Usually, if it's called a Biere de Mars, a lot of times that means it's going to be a sour Biere de garde, and that's basically what this is. Sour oak age, but the oak is bringing lots of complexity. There's lots of tannic structure, as people call it, but it's not overly drying it. Yeah, they just really know how to blend their barrels there. Even with these beers that are like extensively barrel aged, they're not too tannic and too dry. I guess some funkiness. It's almost like there's hay and almost like gruity herbs, woody herbs. Is kind of the funkiness I'm getting out of this. That's sort of, I think, combining with all the oak. But it's a very nice beer. If you're into these styles, I guess it's more like a Flanders Red or an Oud Bruin. I should have said that. Except those ones, I don't know, it's really similar to those now that I think about it. Those sometimes are more sweet and more malty than this one, because all of the Saison yeast character is like not in this at all. After aging in oak, you lose those initial yeast characteristics basically, and all the other microbes, and the oak takes over. So after that, this is really, yeah, it's too pale to be a Flanders Red, and too refreshing. But I would take this over a Flanders Red. It's very nice. I'd give it 4.25 at least. It's not exactly my favorite style, and it's not quite funky enough. But those are kind of personal, subjective things about it. Otherwise, it's an extremely well-made beer. I should probably give it a 4.5. And yeah, I wouldn't pass up this one if you had a chance to get it. It is worth the $30, but just not my favorite one. That's it. Goodbye.